let's get started by looking at my adventure fronts.
To the math squad.
Here we go. All right, big spoilers. Here it comes. Okay, so what I've been using to manage my my GM prep in the large scale is a series of sort of countdown lists, sort of a to-do list for all of the stuff that's going on in the campaign. So these are events that have been set in motion that either will continue from the start to the end of their path or might get interrupted by player behavior. These are really just sort of notes for me to understand what's going on in the world, and I've sort of left them alone because we've been focusing on something outside the world, right? I consider this arc, this Stranger Stars arc, to begin with Zeke's character joining the show, and about 10 or 12 episodes, right? It'll kind of conclude either with the live show or very close thereafter. So we're going to talk about the adventure fronts, and then I'm just going to hit you with all the realness because I've got some stuff planned, and we're going to talk about how to make that happen. I've only got 8 hours, and I want it to be big. So let's take a look at what's going on right now. So Kukris has been searching the city of Brass. Kukris, you'll remember, is Ramus and Berg's old handler. He was the guy that was giving them the mission to go to the Shulin Valley in the first place and to dig up the orb, to get it from Azure Vortex, who he considered to be a Court of Coins, like a subversive. She died, the orb got lost. We've now learned that the orb is an object of elemental power that is able to channel or manage elemental power. It came from outside the Court of Swords, and it resembles an artifact that we saw in the hands of the people, who are the interplanar refugees that used to live with Utrix. And now, I guess, have been enslaved by mind flayers. They're not really my concern right now. We're gonna see a return probably of the people sometime down the line, but we're coming back from the interstellar wizard horseshit, and we're focusing back in the Court of Swords. So Kukris, I think, has been spending all this time scouring the city. Right? He's looking for Berg, looking for Ramus, doing these things. I think that as far as advancing this goes, he's managed to learn that Ramus is still alive, which means event number 1, and I'm gonna make a note in my notebook. Let me see, where's my pen? There it is. Okay. GM notebook, live show, event number 1. Is the return of Kukris. So Kukris is going to come back to, he's going to find Ramus, and he's going to make Ramus an offer. I don't know what that is yet. Maybe he's got access to heaven, and he knows Ramus needs to get his soul back. Great talent in Augustus. Welcome. Thank you. So let's see here. So Kukris offers Ramus a chance to get his soul back in exchange for betraying Berg. Dun 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 la 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 la. Okay. So that's got to happen. That's going to be an event that occurs sometime during the show. The Sahir Inanna. Now, Inanna originally... So here's what Inanna has been up to. So the PCs met with Inanna. Inanna went to heaven, and she learned that some bureau is working to figure out the Farang, right? She learns about Ramus's soul, so she knows about it too. She came to them with the quest, right, to test them, to see the Utrix of the Seven Potencies, all that stuff. I think all of this is going to change because things in the city have changed pretty significantly. So I'm going to need to replace this with what happens next. And we'll come back and figure that out later. Okay. So Berg's soul passenger. This has happened, right? So Berg merges his soul with that of the dark shard of Farang energy, gaining its gift and burdens. Now we know what some of these questions were, right? The Farang. We're just gonna start talking about him here. So Tulpa, which is what he calls himself. It's not his name. Tulpa makes a deal with Berg to unlock the conduit and begin his path towards synthesis, right? For them to merge. These things are still true, right? Something will happen, right? So Tulpa knows what's going on, and again, we'll come back to this document. I'm starting here so we can finish here. Slinking Gibbon, welcome back. So what Tulpa wants is to. We talked a little bit about how symbiosis. That's a good word. Okay. We talked a little bit about how the reality of the Court of Swords is fundamentally opposed to the to the Farang, right? The Farang can't just come here and fuck about. The Farang have to find other ways to survive in the Court of Swords. The power armor, right? The golden armor that we saw earlier.
To the Math Squad.
The Radmiral, welcome back. Or welcome, I suppose. Hello. Thank you for that very generous $24.99 sub.
You have returned.
6 months just flying by, buddy. Okay. So, to survive in the Court of Swords, the Farang need some other way. So what they need is, some of them have been creating half-elves as a means to, like these sort of Manchurian candidate. They either impregnate or swap or corrupt babies, and when the babies grow up, they mature, and then a Farang can jump into them, and that allows them to exist in the world as half-elves, right? They have a material form, but the soul of a Tulpa, a false soul. They have armor, like the Gold faction has armor to protect them. So physical protection, fields of psychic energy that protects them from being killed. And the Tulpa is trying a new method, direct synthesis with powerful entities, eating up magical energy, right? Tulpa feeds on magic energy. That's why he was awakened and empowered by the fountains, the fake fountains magic. So let's actually put in a new step just to keep some notes here. So like Tulpa is empowered by consuming the false fountain. And so he knows he can eat magic, basically, and now he wants to piggyback into the world. As people have picked out already, Tulpa belongs to one of several factions of Farang. The Gold faction, as y'all have been calling them, the Gold faction of Farang, we'll see more of them soon. I'll talk about that in a bit. Okay, so Tulpa makes a deal with Berg. Something occurs. So we're going to need, the second thing that could happen in the live show is Tulpa attempts to encourage Berg to consume additional energy. Ultimately, Tulpa wants to get the real thing. Tulpa wants to get the fountain, and Tulpa wants to drink deep of the fountain's power. So I don't know, maybe Berg's Soul Passenger needs its own. Maybe we need another, like, Tulpa's Machinations. Because this is sort of like, Tulpa has a secondary plan. Now he's awake. And what he ultimately wants is, Tulpa drinks deep of the fountain in heaven and becomes some sort of super elf psychic doom ghost it's a bad time. No, Tulpa doesn't know that if Berg dies, he'll just get a shot into heaven. He doesn't know that. None of the Farang know the truth about heaven. They've never been there. All they can do is detect massive power sources. I think all of the Farang are capable of absorbing and eating magic. I also think that they can kill and eat gods. That's what happened. Ultimately, that's what the scarabs do. The scarabs are like magic-eating parasites, and that's what happened to Utrix. Utrix was killed and eaten by the beetles. And if the Farang could get into heaven, they would just start eating the gods, and eventually they would corrupt heaven and everything would just come apart. It would be very bad. Ultimately, I see there are three factors to this situation, right? And we talked about this a little bit. There's heaven versus the Mara, right? Good and evil, black and white, death and life, whatever. That's the clear thing. And so for every action, there's a reaction. For the fountain, there's the Mara. But the elves, the Farang, are the ones that say, no, we're outside this game. We don't want to play your game. We want to flip the table, and then we want to kill and eat the players. Yeah. I think still, for now, the Farang, they don't know how to interact with souls. Souls are an unusual, like, mysterious thing to them, and I don't think that they can affect them directly, right? I think that a soul is too pure for them to fuck with. That's why those beetles couldn't eat them. So anyway, that's the Tulpa. Tulpa is gonna try to like work on this stuff, and we'll go from there. So okay, Soulless Ramus. We've got Hazan bribes the gatekeeper to overlook Ramus's reincarnation, lose him in the stacks. That definitely happened. The gatekeeper is alerted to a wrongdoing. So the gatekeeper, I think, knows something went wrong, but is very distracted by what's actually going on in the world right now. I think we need to, I don't think Inanna is the main thing here. I think we're going to replace this one with Kukrit attempts to bargain with Ramus, offering him a ticket into heaven, essentially a guest pass. And then it's up to Ramus to decide what to do. Eventually, the rest will still happen. There's been a lot of interesting conversations about Ramus. Thanks, Meat Shield. A lot of really interesting things, conversations about Ramus and about how he's a bit like the Farang in that no matter what he does, good or evil, he is exempt from reincarnation. Only what's left of him from before is going to be judged. He is dharma free. So I'm really interesting. I think I'm going to put that on the list. Ramus learns the truth. And I think this is going to be a great moment for Dan. Do we get full-on shitlord Ramus, or does Ramus turn over a new leaf? How did Kukrit gain access to heaven? I neither know nor care. He bribed someone, killed someone, paid for it, has a friend in one of the heavenly bureaucracies. Totally doesn't matter. Kukrit's he's a slimy motherfucker, and he's got ways, right? He himself may not be like eminently powerful, but he knows people and he knows how to twist a knife, right? So he's a grim dude. So he figured it out. If Kukrit gives Ramus the ticket to heaven, that's in exchange for betraying Berg, right? So Ramus learns the truth, then what? Right? Like, you're free. You can do anything you want. No one can judge you. You are outside the reincarnation. And yeah, for maximum effect, Ramus will learn the truth before he encounters Kukrit, or from that, right? So Kukrit can say, like, you could go get your soul, and I have this ticket for you. But, like, remember, you can do whatever you want with it. You can keep it safe. You could be immortal if you wanted to. That's the idea, right? He's here to, like, trick and tempt Ramus into being villainous. Yeah, so Chrisploitation points out, Kukrit is the medieval version of a really shady CIA handler. Exactly. He has had more than a decade to single-mindedly hunt down Berg and get his revenge for Berg ruining his career. He had all these plans about the Shulin Valley, which we'll talk about later. Kukrit wants Berg back because Berg represents his failure. Berg is a filthy fucking half-orc who used to be his slave, who belongs to Kukrit. Ramus is just a piece of shit. Ramus doesn't really matter, but Kukrit and Berg, it's personal. So Kukrit is a villain. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to cut the halfling labor movement because it kind of doesn't matter anymore, because you'll see. And all of these things can kind of stay in the background because they're bigger. Also, I made a note. I love this. I forget who said this. I think it was on Twitter or on the forums. The slavers the ring talked about are the Farang, and these people can be one of the people Farang conquered, and Utric saved them somehow. I love it when y'all figure this shit out. It makes me really happy. So anyway, the city must burn. This is important because I need to clear pretty much this whole thing. I'm going to replace this with the front for the live show. Stranger Stars Fall. So, here's how this goes. I'm about to spoil the shit out of the City of Brass and kind of what's going on right now. So, get ready. Okay, so, let's see. A forward scout of the Farang. We'll just call them Gold Faction. We'll be going with that. The Gold Faction Farang is captured by Utric's oubliette while attempting to return to his base. I don't like space base. They have a thing, but return to his companions. I guess that's actually second. So watch. A scout discovers a way into the Court of Swords via Limbo. There we go. Then he's captured on his way home. Then some idiot frees the scout from the oubliette, and he kills Utrix. The scout returns to his people, empowered with both Utrix magic and a clear path into the world. A vanguard of assault vessels penetrates the veil between the court and the worlds beyond. The lower districts of the City of Brass fall to the Farang invaders. And that's where we begin. So let's talk about the live show, shall we? So the scout, basically they've been sending scouts out into the universe, the Gold Faction, looking for things to kill and absorb and eat. One of these scouts, one lucky scout, penetrates the barrier of the fountain, gets into creation, learns that there is a way through which he can invade his they can invade this world. He's found their path. On his way home, he gets scooped up by Utrix, gets sucked into the oubliette, and cannot return home. He's freed from the oubliette by somebody, and with that knowledge and with the power of Utrix's realm, pops back to his people. He says, "Yo, I'm ready. Let me lead. Let's do this thing." And the Locust Armada spills out into the City of Brass because, as we've said like 100 times, what is the source of the most varied, significant magic in Court of Swords, in the whole world? It's the City of Brass, right? Ancient city of magic, super powerful, and now gold-armored, magic-eating, invisible-to-detection elves are systematically killing and burning the City of Brass. Now, what's interesting is that they're not the ones who are doing the burning, because they are opposed by forces from heaven. Let's see. Let's call them the Salted Earth Armada. Ooh, something like that. Or like the Scorched Earth Armada. I want it to sound a little bit more, let's see. Armada of Scorched Earth arrive and begin destroying things before the Farang can get at them. The Immortals, their allies, fight a two-front war against both the Farang invaders and the Tower's Destructor army. Woof. So, there's basically what's happening now is the Immortals. So, Hazan went to heaven and was like, yo, we need to start destroying the city of Brass. Something terrible is happening, and we're going to have bad shit go on. And we need to start blowing things up, burning things, like just destroying anything the Farang could get their hands on and feed on, and we need to move on, right? Because remember, the tower and their job is to destroy so that new things can be born. Basically, they said, listen, Heaven, we know that you want to keep building and stuff, but part of the cycle of rebirth, part of the cycle of life is blowing the mandala away, right? Is letting the sand blow away. So now we need to torch the city before the Farang can get a hold of it. The Immortals, of course, and all the gods who still want to stick around, they're like, no, we need to keep the city of Brass alive. So now they're fighting both the Farang invaders and their erstwhile allies in the Tower's Destructor army, right? So there's a three-way fight over the city of Brass going on. And now the players are going to stumble into this. So it's a city amidst chaos. And of course, amidst the chaos, servants of the Mara slither into the world to sow corruption. Yeah, so bad time. So all of this shit is already happening, essentially. I guess I just need to like check all these boxes. So like right now, this isn't so much a front as I need to do like separate countdown clocks, kind of. Like each of these three things, the clusterfuck of Brass. Yeah. I mean, I think the Sahir are separating, right? Some of them have been bribed to save the city. Others have fucked off. Heaven is like trying to withhold from a civil war. Things could go very, very badly for the world. But the game is about the characters, is about the players. So what we need to focus on is them and what they're about. So basically, whatever side they take, whatever side they end up taking, likely will be the side that wins if they're successful. So I guess another thing that I need to add to what happens is Hazan representing the Destructor army, the Armada. Representing the Armada tells the PCs. Basically, he acts as their commander, right? What to torch. So one version of the live show is just like bad guys, right? It's just them just ripping around, burning shit down, right? So they're going to show up. Hazan is going to be like, where the fuck were you? I couldn't find you, right? Because they were off in Utrix's realm. You were on vacation, but yo, bell's ringing. Time to join the war. We are in the middle of a fight against these Immortals who are clinging desperately to the city. We're a fight against these invaders, which the gods can't even perceive. So only the mortals that serve the tower can fight them. So basically, Hazan is going to give them missions to fight against the Farang in places, but mostly to like burn libraries, knock over temples, kill important people before they get co-opted. Like they're just a death squad. So that's one option. So I guess potential one here. Let me just start. I'm going to pop open a new document and we're going We're just gonna do that, and you can help me. You can help me kind of figure out what that'll look like. Okay, so new doc. Let me jump back to that for you. Okay, here we go. So, let's call it Stranger Stars Fall. All right. So, the city of Brass is under siege by an invading force who, while small, is powerful and invisible to the eyes of the gods. Only the ripples of their actions and their invisibility to magical sight make them perceivable. That's a stupid word. The armada of the scorched earth, an army of gods and mortal servants, primarily of the tower. What's funny is the devil would oppose the tower mostly, because the devil is about holding on to things. Primarily of the tower, also some of the other arcana, have decided the city must burn before it falls into enemy mandibles. They're basically murdering, torching, and destroying anything that might be of value. And then the Immortals, alongside their divine and mortal allies, the devil, some others, are defending the city, both from the Farang and the Armada. The Mara and their slippery servants are dancing in the bloodshed, usurping everyone's rule. So they're doing it worse. Okay, so the PCs. Faction options. So who do they want to side with? Let's see. Okay. The Armada. Hazan tells the PCs they still work for the tower. And the tower is about destruction. If they choose this path, it's about chaos, killing, burning, and destroying, so that the Farang cannot take what belongs to heaven. Kill them all and let the bureaucracy sort them out. Okay, kill them all and let the bureaucracy sort them out. Basically, all souls return to heaven. Reincarnation still works. If we don't do this, if we don't stop them, they might breach the walls of heaven and stop the Great Wheel. They might poison the fountain, in which case, shit's fucked, right? Like, there's just nothing to be done. So what we have to do is just burn it all down and start again. The star will rise. That's the star's job. We're the tower. It's time to burn. So it could just be, yeah, pillaging. This is the most heavy metal of the options. And this is going to be about, like, killing innocents, and like, they don't need to understand. It's just like, do this thing. Trust in heaven. This is your fate. The Armada is, in a lot of ways, the fountains. This is like the real goal. This is the good, like, most in line with cultural expectation belief. The history books will most readily accept this down the line, like as the day that the city burned because we had to burn it down. Claybar, welcome back. So yeah, this is one option. The second option is the Immortals. Save what can be saved, defeat the foe, repel or convince the Armada to cease their destruction. This is the hard ending. This is the one where it's very difficult because there's a bureaucratic option here where they can call the Armada and be like, listen, we can't do this. We have to work together to fight these creatures. We have to do this. This is the stubborn one. This is the, like, we're holding on to what can be saved. This is the most difficult, but possibly the most heroic. It also means that even if they win, the Farang will get away with something. So this is certainly an option. A challenging path, but the most traditionally heroic, even though technically the Immortals are abominations. Like, this is the thing where the Immortals would be like, yo, you can't let the city die. The Armada is like, you're fools, you're hidebound, you're trapped in this city, just like you're trapped in your bodies. You've been outside the cycle for too long. Maybe it's time for you to finally die, right? I think that for the Armada, at some point, assassination mission against the Immortals. Like, we need you to kill the Immortals. Put them down. Yeah, this is the Sisyphus goal, right? Whoa, I did not spell that right. Yeah. There it is. The Sisyphus objective, which sounds like a Tom Clancy novel. Okay, so that's an option. The Armada, the Immortals. If for some fucked up reason, they end up siding with the Farang, shit. So I guess there's two options here. So the Farang, the gold faction, in which case, let's see, the PCs somehow align themselves, possibly through Kalimat meeting with the Scout and being rewarded for his freeing him from the oubliette. In this ending, they betray the fountain, the tower, and everything else in favor of eventually storming heaven, and that's our next arc. Or, I suppose, B, how do I continue my bullet list here? Can I? Maybe I can't. Fuck it. Okay, so the Farang, the gold faction, if they align with the silver faction, which is what y'all have been calling them, this is your term, the Tulpa gives Berg and the party tools to fight the Farang, not because he disagrees with them overall, but because he wants to be the one to access heaven for his side of the Civil War. Right? This is the option where the Tulpa's like, yo, I will help you. Remember what he said. Remember what Tulpa said. We have the same enemies, you and I. You may not know it yet, but this is how it is. So this is where the Tulpa is the tool. And he basically says, like, okay, we can, this is the shit ending for Berg, ultimately, because he's going to say to them, like, let me help you. I can defeat them. This world must survive. There is good here. I know that we can be allies. My people are the good guys. We're the good Farang. Hooray. And then, at the end, when you save the city of Brass, you repel the Farang, you get invited into heaven, and heaven is like, welcome, your reward for saving us is a drink from the fountain, or whatever, and Berg drinks from the fountain, and the fucking Tulpa bursts out of him, and they kill heaven. That's what he wants. He wants to be the stealth, like the sort of suicide bomb that ends up in heaven. So that's the jam there. So we'll talk again about what those options are. And then lastly, I guess technically the Mara are an option. The Mara aren't a single unified force. They want generally to feed the destruction, to create misery, fear, and terror, so that the strong become the weak, and they can access power and influence. They can offer many things to turn the tables, but of course there is a price. In this choice, the Mara end up corrupting one of the Immortals, giving them a foothold on the city, potentially ending with the city of Brass becoming a Mara-powered Helltropolis. That's a word. I just made it up. So that's certainly a future. So yeah, the Court of Void, capital of the Court of the Void. This is the like Dark Kingdom ending. So yeah, these are kind of all of the things. So let me set up a point of interest for all of them, right? So the Armada, by way of Hazan, representing the Armada, tells the PCs what to destroy, kill, crush, etc. Okay, so an encounter with Hazan. The Immortals visit. Let's see. The Immortals send an envoy to the PCs, trying to get them to join. So everyone's going to be courting the PCs because they're PCs. That's how it goes. Okay, send an envoy to the PCs, trying to get them on side. And I think they send them to meet with Inanna. They send the PCs to Inanna to convince her to help. So Inanna hasn't decided what side she's on yet. Okay, and then, so that's the Immortals and what they send them to do. The Farang. The Gold faction won't necessarily interact with them, like, directly, unless they seek them out. So the Gold faction ending is only going to happen if... The Gold faction ending is only going to happen if Kalimat seeks it out. Unless Kalimat seeks the scout. Okay, I need a name for the scout. Let me look up... Hold on a sec here. Let me look up... Let's see. I need like a... Just like a term for them. They're going to use like military terms. Vanguard Group Captain. Okay, that's what we're going to call this. His new title. Vanguard Group Captain. Okay, unless Kalimat seeks the scout, in which case, cool. Tulpa makes Berg an offer. All Tulpa wants to do is help. I think this ending, this version, piggybacks on everything else. So let me see here. So this one, this option piggybacks on other options. Tulpa wants access to heaven and sees helping Berg as the best way. Okay. All right. Cool. All right. And then the Mara. I think the Mara operate through Kukrit. Kukrit has become an unwitting fucking pawn of the Mara. The Mara have Kukrit by the proverbial neck and interact through him. Okay. Good. All right. So yeah, Kukrit just, he doesn't even know it. I think he just like, he just falls on their end, and that's what they want. They want to just like, they want the city to stay, but they want to corrupt it. The Mara aren't destructors. The Maras are, like, yeah, they corrupt. They don't destroy. They don't destroy. That's the jam. Okay. So this is Stranger Stars Fall. This is our base setup. Let's talk about countdown clocks for each of these things. So countdown to destruction, and I'll make a separate countdown for each of these subsets. I want to put this in a different heading. I guess I could have just changed the size, but let's do that. Countdown to destruction. Bold. What did I say? Size 14. Okay. So, let's go back and look at our factions here. The Armada. The Immortals. And so these are like nested, overlapping fronts. They can't all win, but we'll gently nudge all of them forward. And each of these will be a little like an event that I can use. I can drop, they're like encounters I can drop the players into. Something to show these off. Okay, the Armada, the Immortals, the Farang, the Gold Faction, Farang, and then the Mara. Okay. Let me grab my, hold on. Let me grab I closed my fronts document. I just need the checkboxes. Yeah, we'll talk about if the PCs decide to go another direction. We'll talk about that after. That, because you have to have that, like, what if the PCs just leave option, because then, you know. Okay, so let's leave a comment. And then lastly, I'll set another, we'll make a note here. What if they just fuck off? What will happen? And I get to decide based on what I like, basically, what I think will be interesting for the setting. I have some thoughts about that, but we'll get to it in a minute. Okay. So, the Armada. I think we'll structure out like a, I don't know, like a 5-point plan for each of these things, and then we'll adjust as we go. Ugh. 1 checkpoint per page. Okay. 2, 3, 4. Good. Okay, and then the Farang, if they're winning. And then the Mara. The Mara is one that will happen anyway. Like, that's the background one. This happens as these other things are going. These are the only 3 fronts that really matter. Okay, and then what if they just fuck off? So, okay, so the Armada, the first thing that happens is Servants of the Tower. Why is this size 10? No, you need to be size 11. I'm picky that way. Okay. We basically just need targets. We just need targets for the Armada. So when the Armada wins, the City of Brass burns. Utterly destroyed. So let's go back from there. The Palace of the Immortals is burned. The Immortals killed. Oh, you know what? The kind of theme for this Armada, keep in mind the Bolshevik Revolution. Right? So the Palace of the Immortals is the Winter Palace, and the Armada are the rampaging Bolsheviks. Welcome to World War I Russia. Okay, all right. So Counter destruction. So, okay, the Palace of the Immortals is burned. What happens before that? The Aharisa are routed. Its commanders killed. And then, let's say, like, strategic targets, temples, barracks, miscellaneous and confusing, but fate-relevant targets are destroyed by agents of the tower. So this is the, like, the chaos portion where it doesn't even make sense, where it's kind of just like, why did we have to kill these poor, like, children? Listen, it's important, okay? It's important. Supply depots, yeah. And then, so the beginning is Guerrilla Warfare against the Immortals. And the Armada's overall strategy, I'll make a comment. The Armada's overall strategy is a hit-and-run war against the Immortals, who are also busy fighting. Wow, this is just like the fucking Bolsheviks, right? Like, existing forces, the Immortals. The Immortals are the Tsar and the like existing Russian situation. They're fighting the Germans, which are the Farang, and the Armada are the Bolsheviks, who are like, nope, we're just gonna burn all this shit down. It's imperialism that got us into this situation in the first place. The city has to fall. Into it. Okay. Great. So that is a thing. Okay. Who are busy fighting with the Farang. They avoid open combat with the Immortals and exploit the chaos. They have no purpose but to destroy. Okay, and they're a forest fire, right? They're not, right? Like, kill a kid because we need that reincarnation in the next section. I like it. Okay, so the city brass burns. This is what will eventually happen. The Armada will seek this goal. Yeah, let's throw in another one here. A specific strategic target. The citywide magical transportation system is irreparably damaged by an attack. There you go. So that's a serious deal. Okay, so there's the jam. This is gonna play out over as much time as it takes. It won't just be one night. This is a war, not just a battle. Okay, all right. So the Immortals, they win by the Farang are repelled back to whence they came, and the city is saved. From there, behind that, they have to win some victories. So the ziggurat of, I need like a name for like this is the ziggurat, the core base of the Farang, right? The Battle of the Ziggurat. Battle of the Golden Ziggurat is fought and won by the Immortal forces. Prior to that, they let's see, some other like significant thing. The Farang like safety network. Basically, they have to put up to not put too fine a fucking point on it. They need pylons to exist. So the Farang like magical absorption network is destroyed, driving the Farang back into the aura of the ziggurat. They have to fall back from the network. And then prior to that, a method of like perceiving, or a method to allow magic to affect the Farang forces is developed. And I think maybe the the next thing, there actually is another step in here. And this is kind of like the Borg, like they figure out how to make the phasers work on them. But before that, it's just like a series of losing battles are fought. Actually, no, they this is the first thing the PCs do. Inanna and several other Sahir are recruited to develop techniques to fight the Farang. There you go. There we go. Got it. Okay. Cool. You're right, like the mycelium network. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let's call this, I like the Anathem network. The Anathem network, because it's anathema, right? It's like a zone of anti-magic. So the Battle of the Golden Ziggurat is fought and won by immortal forces. The Anathem network is destroyed, driving the Farang back. A peace is brokered with the Armada of Scorched Earth, the Scorched Earth. Right, this is super important. They broker a peace, which allows them all to fight and win the Battle of the Golden Ziggurat. That's the plan. Okay. Are they immune to all magic or projectile spells that just conjure? Yeah, no. So I think that what happens is they carry around devices in their armor or on their person that project anti-magic fields. Yeah, so this is, like we said, this is the hardest ending to achieve, but it is possible. The city is saved. All right, now this is the worst, one of the worst ones. So the Gold Faction Farang, the city is captured, and the Farang begin attempting to pierce the gates of heaven. So this is the gods. Let's see, the Armada and other divine entities in the city abandon it and return to heaven. Then the city falls, right? Okay. So the Armada and the other divine entities, the gods fuck off. They're like, never mind, we're out. We're going back to heaven. We're falling back. Sorry, humans, you can't come. Bye. So they fall back and return to heaven. Okay, and then let's see what else we got. The Armada fall back, return to heaven. Prior to that, let's see, the Farang kill. This is all about them. It's not about them killing. It's about them seizing things. Seize the Temple of the World. These will just be strategic targets. The Farang seize the marketplace. Let's add in a few more targets. The Farang seize control. Something like significant and magical. Yeah. And then also like they seize the palace. That's the last thing before everybody flees. The Farang seize the palace of the Immortals. Okay. Ooh, I know. Here's an early one. Several Sahir switch sides and begin working with the Farang. Fucking Sahir. Goddamn wizards. So they purposefully switch sides. Okay, and so at the beginning, the Gold Faction, the invasion begins with the lower districts and the Anathem network is erected, and that's already happening. The Farang have a head start. And I think actually this is happening now too. There we go. Okay. So for the Mara, this is the Mara like corruptor ending. So it needs that the city survives. So let's see. The Farang are repelled, but the Armada and Immortals are irreparably hurt. Or irreparably, like the Immortal Defense. The Armada and Immortal Defense plans are irreparably derailed. The Mara strike at the weakened Immortals, corrupting them and taking the city for their own. Ugh. Okay. Hey, Book J, thank you. It's very sweet of you. Okay, and then I think prior to, or no, after this, but before it's over, this one also includes the gods flee. The divine entities that still live or that still remain in the city flee for heaven. Okay. Okay, so the Mara, I think here, the Aharisa becomes corrupted. Necromantic magic, turning them into a Mara-fueled
to the math squad.
Genocide squad. The lower districts begin breeding devils and abominations. Those suffer most from the battles are turned from their fate. Right? People start making deals. Eventually, the city guard becomes a necromantic army, and then worse shit occurs. Yeah, and so that's the plan. BudgieBot, hi, hello, welcome, thank you. Cool, okay. And then the Mara strike at the weakened Immortals, corrupting them, and yada, yada, yada. I think all four of these lead to an awesome continuation of the campaign. I have no attachment to any of this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be picking and choosing so that eventually we'll create a list. Now, let's go, what if they just fuck off? We'll just figure this out, and then I'll talk about, like, questions, right? Like, questions left unanswered. So what do we not know? Because people have been asking about, like, the Empire and some other stuff. So we'll talk about that.
Our illustrious champion returns.
Okay, so what if the players just fuck off? If the players just see the city in flames and decide, nah, baby, we out, then what happens? And what do we do with 8 hours? The answer to so what happens, I guess the answer to that is we make a list. So I think it'll be a combination of this stuff. So probably first, the Armada and the Immortals end up fighting each other and losing out on much, canceling out each other's efforts. The Farang seize a significant portion of the city, and their network grows. Eventually, the forces of heaven, I guess we'll just keep calling them the Armada and the Immortals, make nice, and the remaining Sahir give them the tools to fight the Farang, but not repel them. The city becomes a kind of Cold War zone a la Berlin, where the Farang claim the lower city and heaven claims the upper. Ongoing skirmishes for the foreseeable future. The Mara fester in the shadows, growing powerful and continuing the chaos. The city becomes the first, I guess, like beachfront, or like, what is it, beachhead? For the Gold Faction Farang, who begin drawing plans for future invasion. Yeah, beachhead, foothold, that sort of shit. Beach ball, foothead. Okay, so there it is. This is what will happen if the PCs just like didn't do anything.
Welcome
this is my
to the
dogs in
Math
the vineyard
Squad.
future. Luminosity, hello, hi. That's what happens. We can attach, so the Mara can achieve some of their goals no matter what. We can attach the Silver Faction plan. We can attach Tulpa to any of these things. Questions left unanswered. Let's talk about that. So what am I missing? What am I not thinking about? What have I forgotten? So okay, what about the angel that was allied with the Empire back before Sully and Kalimat showed up? I guess we'll just do this in like Q&A format. Q. What happened to the angel? Answer. He represents a shadow council of angels, gods, and
Our
other
illustrious
heavenly
champion
bureaucrats
returns. Welcome home.
who want to avoid the fountain absorbing everything forever. They want to live. As for what's happening for them, this is all just happening in the background. They're a shadow council. They want to like exist in the background. So that's this jam, right? Shadow Council of Angels, they basically were like, listen, guys, I like to exist. Do you like to exist? I don't want to be enlightened. The fountain's great, but I'd like to stay one step back. It is a dangerous place, and I don't want to be a part of it. These are the kind of guys who, yeah, Celestial Warlock patrons. Exactly. So, like, we don't want to stop the wheel. That's that Mara shit. We just want to slow its roll a little. Okay, so what else? What else have we left? Have we left anything else unanswered here? Like, question. Here, I'm gonna bold these so I can stand out. Question. What about Kukris? Old Kooky is an unwitting pawn of the Mara who want him to turn Ramus and Berg against each other because it's funny. Okay. Actually, I guess I could probably just, here, let's format these together. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Any other questions? Oh, where are the servants of Imix? A dedicated but small cult of Imix worshippers. The sons and daughters of the Cinder Lord. The sons and daughter of the Cinder Lord exist and serve in the city of Brass. They will side with the tower when the time comes, as the tower gives the city a chance to burn so bright. Yeah. Cool. Okay, those dudes. Yeah, so that's the jam, right? Is like that ties up all our Agni stuff. Do I have any other like lore shit that I'm like forgetting? Obviously, the city of Brass is huge, and all kinds of stuff is going on. Oh, I know. What happened to the fifth guest? Go away. What was her name? Halida? Let me look back through my notes. Nebula Jazz, Tomb of Annihilation. Oops. I think that's her name. I'm gonna keep looking though. I've got it written down here somewhere. Nanny Poo Poo, Burning Wheel. Here we go. Okay, episode 58. The Farang is freed. Zeridos gets killed. Where's the falafel merchant? He's dead. Walida Silversmith. Walida Silversmith is a dragonborn. Gasp. Walida Silversmith is a dragonborn sorceress who crossed the Immortals and was sentenced to death. She is wanted by the Harissa for her crimes, but returns to the city and sides with no faction. She's here for herself. She wants to reclaim what the Immortals took from her. Mostly magical stuff. And then leave for the city, or leave for the court of swords, where she can study the Mara.
Squad.
Okay, cool. So that's her. Hello, Atrum Umbra. Welcome. So yeah, she came back. She came back to do this. So question. I keep hitting that same shortcut. Welcome
to the math
What's
squad.
the deal with the stairway to heaven? Angry Monst, thank you for your Prime sub. The Shadow Council of Shadowy Angels built it as a backdoor to heaven. It might fall into the hands of any of the factions in the battle for the city, but it might also just go unnoticed. There you go. Okay. Yeah, they built it to get like as a backdoor to sneak in their like secret agents, like the Empire, into heaven, because it's not guarded by the secret dogs. But yeah, they built it. It worked. It operates, and it's a Zay. The were creatures in the Undercity don't matter. They're like irrelevant. They're not significant enough to this. They'll eventually just become servants of the Mara, if that happens. Are there sleeper Farang agents in the City of Brass? No. Yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about the Shulin Valley or the Court of Swords or the Necromancer King or any of that shit, because that's not following Kevin Crawford's advice. I don't need it for today. I don't need it for tomorrow. I'm not interested in it. I have definitely got enough content here for 8 hours of stuff, right? What I want to do is just make sure I have specific encounters. So let's maybe talk about that. Like, what if I don't know what to do? There's no real linearity. I can just say this happens. So encounters. Okay, so gold. Obviously, Gold Faction Marauders. Either inside the Anathem network or at the Vanguard, a group of golden-clad Farang warriors run afoul of the PCs. This is dangerous as heck, as they have magic resistance and also are very scary. So here's the deal. Oh, I should specify like the Anathem network, because I want to talk about how it works. Okay. So the Anathem network, just so we're real clear on it. Inside the network, no magic based on the fountain can function.
Our
Period.
illustrious champion
If someone
returns.
dies inside the network,
home.
their soul remains in their body until it leaves the network. That's just it. Your soul gets stuck in your body. Or until the Farang find a way to start siphoning souls. Stab, welcome back. Okay. For their horrible engines. Outside the network, all Farang carry an innate resistance to all magic and gain all magic damage and gain advantage on all magic saves. This is inherent to their nature, and normally they would be totally immune, except that the fountain bullshit energy is everywhere and overloading their circuits. Right? So it's overloading that thing. Anne's character is in heaven right now. She's a servant or puppet or like helper of the shadowy angel. Cool. Okay. So this is how the Anathema network works. If they are inside the network, until the Sahir are able to create arcane protocols to modify magic, prayer strips that can be included in spellcasting to allow magic to function. If these are used against the Farang, magic is treated as normal. If they're used inside the network, resistance and advantage apply, but magic functions. Each prayer strip acts as a single-use magic spell component consumed by the spell when cast. They are available to allies of the Immortals at first, or the Armada once the two factions align. Bam. Okay, so this is faction-specific gear that Sully and Ramus could get if they ally with the Immortals, or later on, they're given these things. Cool. Okay, great. So encounters. They can encounter Gold Faction Marauders. Let me see real quick. I'm just gonna open another tab. Kobold Fight Club. Let's come up with like a reasonably fair encounter. Kind of fair. Like I don't need to really agonize over it. So, okay, we have 2 first 5th level characters, and then 2 1 7 and 1 6, I think. Okay, for now anyway. So yeah, Twilight Borealis, they could loot them for mortal faction corpses. That's a good point. Okay, so we know that their base operating like forces here are I can't remember if Ramus is 7. Okay, cool, thank you. Gold Dragon Wormlings, right? Are the armored units are Gold Dragon Wormlings, and then the heavy armored units are Young Gold Dragons. I've been using them as the stats. So let's see. For the armored incursion units, use Wormlings and Young Gold Dragons. replace their fire damage with psychic. There you go. So there's like psychic flamethrowers. So they can run across Gold Faction Marauders. For unarmored Farang, just use the various elves of the monster manual or Volos. I don't know if there are any elves in Volos. Or humanoid NPCs, but with elf traits. That's easy enough. Okay, all right, so that's Gold Faction Marauders. Forces of the Armada. The Armada employs a ragtag group of priests of the Tower and some other gods, plus human mercenaries, monsters, and various creatures. Honestly, you can just roll randomly. That might be fun. So if I'm like, yeah, you run across the forces of the Armada and they're wrecking some stuff up, let's just go like this. What do you see? Cool. Well, it's 2 hobgoblins and 2 polar bears. Fuck it. Like that's that. I'm happy to just be like 4 fire snakes and 2 meanlocks, 2 yellow musk creepers and a swarm of poisonous snakes. Like this is the chaos of the Armada. They just strap together whatever they got. So this should be fun. To just kind of throw this stuff together. Literally, just do random encounters based on their level. Yeah, 2 Ankylosauruses and a green hag. I think that'll be fun to play with. Because the Armada is just kind of like taking what they can get. They might encounter. They could also encounter like. Here, let's be more specific. So like. Using some specific encounters can be found in the Armada countdown. Either the players are part of it and fighting the Immortals, or or they're Immortals trying to stop it. Build accordingly. Okay, great. And then what else? They could come across, they could fight Immortal Defenders. Okay, so the Immortals employ hidebound troops wanting to save the city. These are the Idealists. The status quo combatants, and the city troops themselves.
You have returned.
Primarily, we're looking at humanoid defenders. Use characters with class levels like priest, knight, etc. They probably have some divine entities on their side, so take a look at the celestial options as well. The devil sends his angels to protect the city, of course. Cool. Okay. Yeah, right. Also, magical constructs. Totally, yeah. Magical constructs. They're rad. Use them. And then lastly, the Mara. Demons, aberrations, criminals, the downtrodden, and whatever scum seeps up from the lower districts, sewers. As well, definitely introduce some encounters with people that they think are friends. So like Immortal or Armada loyalists who are actually enemies of the PCs. Secretly corrupted by the Mara's dark magic, because you never know who's going to be a Mara sympathizer, a secret enemy. So yeah, that's the shit. That's all of this stuff. There's 5 pages of prep, and you'll notice there's no maps. There's no like encounter tables. This is a very different way of doing Dungeons and Dragons prep, and I think it'll work nicely for us. We're gonna give the PCs an opportunity to change up their goals, kind of midway through, and then we'll go from there. Now, I am so curious. I'm so curious who you think is going to win the battle for the City of Brass. Like, I feel like I'm so curious. What do you think, chat? Who do you think is going to win? I've tried to build this flat so that anybody could win. Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited. I think this is going to be good. Yeah, bets are open. Just go to RollPlay, go to courtofcoins.com, and go for there. So we'll let the players do their goals, and then halfway through we'll let them redesign their goals once we know what's up. I've got some encounters I need to throw in, and basically for me, all I want to do is just say, all right, yo, who do you side with? Who do you side with in the battle? Do I expect the war to be decided by the end of the live show? I can't. I'm smart enough not to have expectations about that. I mean, the Sahir's goal in this is predominantly to protect what they have. They're the ultimate, like, self-involved, hyper-powerful creatures. So that's all they want. Is whatever will serve them. That's why some of them go to the Farang, some of them serve the Tower, and some of them serve the Immortals. So they got their own shit going. So that's it. That's the prep. That's what I got going on. So if you want to tune in and see how all of this prep goes, you will do so this Saturday at 1 p.m. Pacific, whatever that is in your time zone. And we'll be doing 8 hours of sweet, sweet Dungeons and Dragons. Come and hang out for the conclusion of Stranger Stars. I am so hype, and I'm only more hype now than I was before. I hope that I will see you there. Thanks for coming, as always, everybody. It's really nice to have you around to bounce ideas off of and to feed off of your excitement. We'll see you on Saturday.